Peace and Black Power families, Brother Agyei Tyehimba from Harlem Liberation School, where we proudly teach Black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Definitely want to thank everyone who's watching live or who will watch the later recorded version for joining us. I'm excited about this particular announcement. I tell you, family, I've been spending the last 4 days on the different social media platforms of my own and those of some people in the community that I work with, really trying to spread the word about my new book, The Wise OG Manhood Code, just because I think it's important. What I'm going to do today is slightly different because I did an extensive, a 45-minute live reading and discussion yesterday on Facebook. What I did was clip the most important, close to 18 minutes. So I'm going to show that recorded version of yesterday's talk for 18 minutes, and then I'm going to come live and do a Q&A if there's anyone here to do a Q&A. All right, family, so I am going to get started. Right, hold on. Do this broadcast to acquaint people with this latest project I'm involved with. And I know that many of you will watch the later recorded version. Hopefully you'll support the project by subscribing to the channel and by purchasing my seventh book. If you're joining me live, let me know that you're in the building. And if you think this conversation will benefit other brothers and sisters, especially brothers, please share this live broadcast with them. Today, this broadcast will be very different from most of my usual broadcasts. For years, most of you know me through Harlem Liberation School. We've spent countless hours discussing our history, political education, community organizing, self-determination. We've had guests, Pan-Africanism, Black nationalism, our long kind of struggle for liberation. But today, I want to introduce a project that comes directly out of that same work, just a different expression of it. And it's my new book, The Wise OG Manhood Code. I'm going to explain why I wrote the book, what you'll find inside. I'm going to read an excerpt from one of the chapters. And of course, I'm going to let you know where you can find the book. Somebody might be saying, okay, Brother Agyei, we know you for Black power, Black nationalism, Pan-Africanist content, for having on some of our scholars and our activists and community organizers and artists. What's this book about manhood and personal development? Where does that come from? And how does that fit into your life's work? And really, the answer is simple. Assata Shakur famously wrote, "It is not enough to change the system. We must also change ourselves." A lot of people quote Sister Assata, but I don't hear too many people quoting that. And that is very important. And that's the spirit in which I write this book and in which I do my Real Wise OG YouTube channel. Over the years, I've come to believe that history has taught us something over and over again. Communities, organizations, movements are made up of individual people. And so we spend a lot of time as nationalists and Pan-Africanists, as we should, discussing systems and structures of oppression, sites of power. We analyze racism and white supremacy. We look at economic inequality. We look at colonialism and anti-colonial movements. We critique the political institutions, the educational institutions, the media. And those conversations are absolutely necessary. I'm going to continue having them myself, I can tell you that much. But they're only one part of the equation. Because even when we understand how these systems operate and how they work to oppress us, you still got to ask this question: who are the people that will organize? Who are the people that will lead resistance movement? Who will build the institutions? Who will mentor the young people or be journalists for the young people? Who's going to create the businesses and the economic infrastructure we need? Who's going to raise the families? Who's going to solve the problems in the community? Liberation movements don't succeed just because people have consciousness. They succeed because disciplined, prepared, principled people organize themselves and dedicate their lives to meaningful work. And that's why I reject this false dichotomy or this false choice that says we have to choose between addressing systemic injustice or oppression or encouraging our people to be self-accountable and to have personal responsibility. We need both, and there's really no way around that. We have these kind of two wars, right? One war is against external enemies and adversaries, and the other war is against the enemy and adversary in ourselves. Brother Malcolm said famously, we have to get rid of the vices in our communities and the vices in ourselves. This is why he said, wake up, clean up, stand up. Well, what do you think cleanup means? He's not talking just about cleaning up or correcting societal injustice. He's talking about looking inside and cleaning up our fear, correcting our envy of each other, a competitiveness, correcting sometimes our ignorance, not knowing certain things or not studying and learning. So that's very important. And I need to say that this has always been a part of nationalist and Pan-Africanist discourse. Always, Brother Garvey in Philosophy and Opinions, he talks about being a lifelong learner. Yeah, he talks about the study and the preparation and getting over our fear and cowardice, huh? And our ignorance. It's just that some of people in our community take that part of it and run with it and act as if there's no such thing as racism or white supremacy, act as if all the problems we caused them, they participate in victim blaming, and we would call them Negroes. We would call them ultra conservative black folk because they forget now we have serious problems that we did not cause, and we need to acknowledge that. And furthermore, we need to address the systems, the people, the policies, and practices that participate in our oppression. Now, the flip side, though, is that whereas other people and institutions and policies might be responsible for our oppression, guess what? Only we are responsible for our liberation. Recognizing racism does not mean we stop developing ourselves, family. Understanding oppression does not eliminate our responsibility to become wiser, healthier, more disciplined, more focused and purposeful, and more capable. The Black liberation tradition has always understood this. Our history is filled with men and women who understood that personal development was preparation for collective struggle. In other words, the two are not separate, they're parts of the same coin. And that philosophy is the foundation of the Wise OG Manhood Code. This book is not about blaming men, it's about preparing men. And I wrote this book because I believe many men today are lost and in need of guidance and looking for guidance. Not somebody to flatter them, not somebody to shame them, not somebody to blame them for every societal ill we have, but someone willing to challenge them to be better and do better. I remember coming up in Harlem in the 80s, the rough 80s, man. We had anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 murders every year in the 80s. To put that in context, the most murderous city in this country, which I will not name, I don't want to embarrass no city, last year, they had a total of 416 murders. We're talking about an abnormally violent situation I came up in. And we had to have a code, family, to navigate that. I benefited personally, as does every generation of brothers, from elders that took time to pour love and knowledge, wisdom, and understanding into me, and who corrected me. I have to be real. They wasn't always sugarcoating it. Sometimes they say, listen, boy, we see you going to school, coming back. We see with your football gear on, going to play football games. We hear you in the student government. You do your poetry. That's very good. But you're hanging out with a few knuckleheads over there that's going to get you popped. Corrective. And we think you have a chance to do well, make us proud. Please be more discriminating with the people you hang with. I had people, elders tell me that, not just in my family either. He's a fictional character that I made up. I made up how he looks. Sometimes I animate him with AI, but I write all the scripts, all the topics I generate. This channel I have, The Real Wise OG, on YouTube, which I hope you will subscribe to. We're growing to almost 4,000 people now, doing pretty well and getting really good feedback and commentary. In fact, it's some of the comments that led me to write the book. And this book, it presents 26 principles designed to help men build stronger character, be more purposeful, purpose driven, more focused, to have healthier habits, and to have a greater a sense of self discipline. It's not about perfection here. This book is about helping men to be intentional, to be disciplined, and to show progress. As the years go by, they should be getting better, healthier, saving more money. They should be learning to be more dutiful and provisional in their relationships. They should be learning to be respectful to our sisters. Men are connected to other people and play other roles. So when men are on time, keep their word, ain't run around talking and running their mouth too much, gossiping and all that, are not complaining and whining, but are identifying problems and solving them. When that happens, they become better fathers, better husbands, better brothers, better community organizers, better co-workers, better business owners, better community members. And don't we all want that? Don't we all want to see our brothers shine and do better and be better? Of course we do. The book is organized into 4 major sections, 26 rules and 4 sections. Part 1, the first section is be your first priority, because you can't really give to anybody else what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. Your first obligation is to build yourself up, family, to make yourself internally tough, intelligent, and wise, and to be useful, to have the skill set and the knowledge base to be useful to yourself, your family, and your community. Then part 2, the second section, is shut up and build. This is now talking about stop seeking praise. Don't worry about being popular and being liked. Don't chase validation, right? Instead, focus quietly every day on building your skill set. Part 3 is protect your peace and your neck. Well, here we're talking about avoiding unnecessary conflict, protecting yourself literally, learning how to defend yourself physically, also learning how to defend yourself by being aware of what's going on around you, because a wise man can actually prevent acts of violence by the way he acts and the decisions he makes. The fourth section of the book, under which these rules are classified, is honor, loyalty, and your circle. And this section of rules explores things like integrity, trust, building a brotherhood, building a circle of friends that you can trust, that's not toxic and dysfunctional. Choosing relationships that strengthen and empower you rather than weaken you. And then at the end of every chapter, there's 4 reflection questions. And the reflection questions are important. They're designed to help readers examine themselves and to see how these rules or principles fit into their life. Now, I want to read a bit of the book to give you a sense of the writing style and to give you a sense of the messaging and, give you some of the flavor. This is rule number 5, manhood rule number 5. Don't take things personally. Every chapter starts with a quote that's relevant. This quote reads, "Whatever happens to you, do not take it personally. Nothing other people do is because of you." And the chapter goes, or the section I'm reading goes as follows. Manhood rule number 5 might seem simple, but you'd be surprised at how many men disregard its wisdom. Because this is so important to being happy and productive, I've included it in this book. How many of us have lost sleep thinking about a real or perceived insult? How often has a minor misunderstanding grown into a bitter argument, fight, or ruined day because of how we looked at the situation? How we perceive and respond to things affects our peace and progress. To help prevent constant bitterness or depression, you should refuse to take people's words or deeds personally. When someone says or does something disrespectful, we tend to view it as a direct personal insult. We assume someone's taking us for granted, ignoring us, or assumes we're soft. And it's easy to assume someone is judging us, underestimating us, or unfairly mistreating us because of who we are or something we've done. But how other people act is often a reflection of who they are and what they are experiencing in their lives. The stranger or friend losing control over something unimportant might have serious anger management or mental health issues. Maybe something you said or did triggered their memory of an ugly event in their life and they never addressed or healed from that trauma. Or maybe they were bullied as a child or grew up in a home where they were physically abused or neglected. As an adult, they carry that anger and resentment with them. Trauma, however, is not the only trigger for bad behavior. People can also be insulting or inappropriate when they're going through tough times. You smile at a store clerk, for instance, right? And ask how they're doing, and they stare back at you and say nothing. You go home and spend your entire evening upset because they disregarded you. But what if you found out their mom or dad recently died after a long, painful fight with cancer? Or the love of their life left them a note ending their relationship and took the children with them? Or they're facing eviction from their home? Or their child was involved in a serious car accident? You get the point. Here you are just thinking about yourself and how you feel, and you never once thought about the actual store clerk. This doesn't mean you're supposed to be cool with being disrespected or treated unfairly. But what it does mean is sometimes it's not about disrespect, it's about miscommunication or a misunderstanding of what's really going on. Sometimes the the person that we're upset with, that we feel violated us, suffers from mental health issues. You shouldn't overthink every second of an uncomfortable incident with somebody. Free yourself from being overburdened by the actions of other people. There are several reasons why somebody might be salty. Always consider these things before you're ready to fight and your whole day is ruined because somebody said or did something you took as a personal attack. Do not take someone's words, actions, or silence personally. This is where you can get the book. Again, the book is called The Wise OG Manhood Code, a manhood development system for men who want to lead, build, and leave a legacy. It's 147 pages. This is a handbook, family. This is not and by the way, this is not a doctoral dissertation. It's not meant to be scholarly. It's meant to be a handbook. So it's close to 150 pages, and it's short chapters. It's 26 chapters, right? Because it's 26 principles. So those chapters are about 5 pages each, but it's meant to be something you could fit in your briefcase, your knapsack, whatever, take with you wherever you go. It's meant to be read more than once because ideally you're going to be taking one of those principles and locking in on one of those principles all week, locking in, answering those questions, right, and going through the system of it. All right, so this is a little peek. So you see here, table of contents. I have 26 rules or chapters. I have here also a whole operating system for how you use this. After the last principle, the 26th chapter, it now takes you to the actual manhood code. Remember, this is called the Wise OG Manhood Code. So all of these 26 principles, you have to read through them first and understand them and digest them and question them and reflect on them to be able to really appreciate the code, because the code is a document. It's something that you can memorize. Definitely something you should use in your life, family, to make decisions, to decide who you're going to date, to decide the type of friend you're going to rock with. All of that, family, you can do based on these 26 principles and this code. And you don't have to be drifting around like a feather in the wind. You can anchor yourself because you have a set of ideas that guides how you move. Well, all right, family, I'm back now live, as I said at this top of the hour. It was roughly an 18-minute pre-recorded sliver of what I talked about yesterday on my Facebook page, on the live book discussion. I didn't want to show it. I don't know if you all will be able to see that. That's the real book. And like I said, this book is meant to use language that directly connects with our brothers. There's nothing in here over anybody's head, nor nothing in here that insults anyone's intelligence. The goal is to help our men live and think and behave in a way that's consistent and aligned with being upright, responsible, trustworthy, reliable men who will be community stewards, leaders, helping our people in the home and in the community. That's really the goal. And if I could be honest, this came about from some real life experiences with men. Recently, I'm like, wow, one brother cursing me out, he mad, disagreement. And I'm telling this brother, I said, my brother, you disagreeing with me means nothing other than we see things differently. I don't need to vindicate, validate myself to you. We just disagree, and it's cool. I disagree with a whole lot of people, and they disagree with me. That doesn't mean we got to be tight with each other, but that's a manly thing. That's something that boys got to learn at home from a man. We're not going back and forth with dudes. We just saying, okay, we reached the impasse. No problem. And we leave that alone. We move on to something else, right? But we don't stay stuck there. I've dealt with brothers in the conscious community, the nationalists, Pan-Africanists, whatever community that are having difficulty being able to embrace other ideas. You don't have to love somebody and agree with everything they say to be able to work with them, family. That's cooperational unity. We know this from the 60s with the US organization, the Molana Karenga, or Congress of African People. This is stuff also, or talking behind brothers' backs, or tearing brothers down, or getting mad, not supporting them. You say that you for youth development, the brother comes out with a youth development book, you're not gonna buy it because you got a disagreement with him. That's not manly at all. That's whack and it's weak. So what we're trying to do is bring back a code for men. Because when I came up, my father, grandfather, uncles, the men that I knew and loved in the home, and the men that I knew and loved in the community, whether they be coaches or teachers or community center workers, youth workers, were very keen on showing for us, modeling how men get down, how men deal with disagreements with each other, right? How men hold it, right, and carry it. And I think that's gotten lost in this day and time. I think we used to look up to the neighborhood pastor, look up to the youth workers, the parents, or coaches, or teachers. And now I think people are looking up to social media influencers, some of whom have not earned the right, have not accumulated the authority through real life experience to be advising anybody on anything, if we can be honest. So you have this whole social media circus, and here you got these young 18, 20, 28, 35-year-old brothers, sometimes 40, who are confused. They don't know which way to go. Many of them weren't raised by a man. Many of them had very little contact with an actual man in their home. They might see a man as a coach or a teacher, but in terms of a more intimate relationship, a brother that can sit down with them and school them, that's decreasing. So this book, the Wise OG Manhood Code, and the channel I created before this book, the Real Wise OG on YouTube, are attempts to try to bring a code back for these brothers, so they know, look, man, we're not talking. First of all, bro, shut your mouth. You talk too much. How about that? I heard grown men saying that back in the day. Fam, we don't do that. We don't talk. Like, listen more. So when you got something to say, hopefully of substance, say it. But don't be goofy. And, do y'all remember that? Or is it just me? The men were telling the boys, don't be goofy. Don't be the type that always has to get attention. Don't have to be the center of attention. Don't be chasing after people. Don't be thirsty. Don't do too much. This is the language we use now, but that goes back to to some old school principles. And I hear women often say, "Oh, the men back then," and they say this with great nostalgia. And part of that is because those men back then had a code and an understanding for how men operate. And that's being lost. And I think that's a terrible thing. And I'm trying to create a movement called the Build Better Men movement to bring that back. I also want to say, before we take questions, if there are any, that this is not in any way an attempt to beat up on or eviscerate our sisters. I am not from the Kevin Samuels camp. I believe our sisters are important. They're jewels. Our sisters are our backbone. I would never be up here bashing them. So please don't misinterpret what I'm saying when I say I want to elevate men and empower men to mean that somehow I want to disrespect and demonize our sisters. No, we are two parts of the same coin. And that's the only way we can produce life. And that has meaning, is to have a male and a female. And that's also, if you look at all types of things, a battery has to have a positive and negative charge. You know, this kind of duality. That's part of nature. And that's part of being empowered. So I never would beat up on the sisters. In fact, I think one of the reasons I want the brothers to do better and be better is because the sisters are carrying a lot of weight. And we have to really be thinking about ways to position ourselves to be as helpful to them, as provisional and as helpful to them as we can. I think that's only right. At this point, I don't know if anyone's here, but if there are any questions, I'll wait a few minutes and see if there are any questions. It's 4:28. We'll say to about maybe 4:30. If I don't hear from anyone by 4:30, we're going to end this session. That'll be roughly 30 minutes. And I will see you all next time. Don't forget, every last Tuesday of the month, we have Brother Haru, who talks about holistic health and remedies and ways to reverse our illnesses. Every second Wednesday of the month, we have our brother Bomani Shakur. We do our political prisoner report. The last time we met, man, we had a working session. We actually had people live in a Zoom sort of studio writing actual letters to help free our brother Abdul Alubala Shakur. So we have about maybe 3-4 more minutes. If there are any questions, please let it be known. Type it in the comment section or the chat so that I can see them. All right, and I'll try to answer it. So again, as I said, about 4:30, I don't see anything. I am going to sign off. I definitely hope that you all will get that book. I want to remind you that although I wrote the book as written in my pen name, it's written in the character I created, Wise OG. So it is called the Wise OG Manhood Code. But when you look it up by the author, you have to look it up under Wise OG. All right. With that said, family, we got 1 more minute. I'm going to see if we got anybody, and then I am going to leave. 1 more minute, and then I'm going to leave. If I don't see any question, I am gone. And I'll catch you all next time. In the meantime, please subscribe to Harlem Liberation School, where we teach Black people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Please subscribe to the Real Wise OG channel on YouTube to get that affirming, positive, substantial men's development lessons, life lessons, how we parent our children, family. Oh, it's good stuff there. How we deal with our money, getting our money right, huh? How we stay focused, how we identify our purpose in life, how we become more engaged in our community. All of that is covered in the Wise OG Manhood Code. 26 principles to get our men right. With that said, family, I see no questions. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Saturday. I hope you will as well. And have a beautiful day. And support your brother and support our brothers. This is a men's movement to get our men right. They can't complain and do nothing. Those days are over. Thank you, family, for joining. Peace. Black power.